Hey everyone, it's me, Grace. It's been years. I'm just coming at you all today with a little video update about my medical transition. I have been medically transitioning now for 2 years, which is crazy. Um, on September 11th, it's going to be exactly 2 years since I started testosterone blockers, and on October 28th, it will mark 2 years since I've started estrogen. And I've grown in those 2 years. Disclaimer, I live on a main street in Boston, so you're going to hear the T, you're going to hear cars, you might hear my fan. Oh, here's the T right now. So when I'm editing this, I'm going to know whether or not if you can hear it. But let's just get into this video. Let me wait for this fucking train to stop. So within these past 2 years, I have definitely changed dramatically. Both physically, spiritually, mentally, emotionally, everything. So I remember when I first started testosterone blockers on September 11th, 2 years ago, I wasn't given estrogen to give my body some type of hormone. And as a result of that, I felt really empty. I felt like I was a husk and I had no energy. And huge disclaimer that medication, especially HRT, affects everyone differently and it alters some things while it doesn't others. And for me, with my personal transition, at the beginning, it was especially hard because my body didn't have any hormones for a straight up month, which is not fun. Hormones basically regulate your metabolism, your mood, your mental health. And for me, as someone who has really bad anxiety and really bad depression, I remember for the first month it was bad. And as a result of that, I started to self-medicate. I had a personal timeline, in case you all are new here, that I wanted to start hormones on my birthday because I always associated my birthday as something very negative. And I was told by my healthcare provider that it was not feasible for me to start hormones on the day of my birthday. So I took it upon myself to start hormones because I couldn't wait 2 months of just being hormoneless. I just couldn't. My acne flared up, my mood swings were horrible, my depression was horrible. And because of that, my transition started out very rocky. It doesn't help that I was in an abusive relationship at the time, both with a friend and an actual romantic relationship. So I was going through a lot. And, especially emotionally, I was a mess. I would cry all the time because I felt so empty. And when I started self-medicating, I was extremely nervous because even though I did my research, you don't know what you're putting into your body. It could say estrogen and it could be acid. But for me, that little tablet was my gateway into beginning my womanhood. And I needed that. I needed to jumpstart my transition. I needed to make my birthday something positive. And I do not regret, you know, self-medicating for 3 weeks because it taught me that I'm a strong person and that I can depend on myself. When I went to my healthcare provider, telling them that I was self-medicating for 3 weeks, she was not happy with me. She said that's very dangerous, that I could be taking something very bad for my body. And I just told her, the pain of being without any hormones was too much. So she said, you should have stopped taking your testosterone blockers. And I'm like, I couldn't. That's not an option for me. I needed testosterone blockers. I needed hormones. It's not a question. It's not for debate. I needed it. But after I was prescribed legally, estrogen, it started to kind of fly by. Um, the first thing that I noticed was breast development. Basically, my nipples hurt a lot. I remember I went into the shower one time and I went underneath the water and I screamed because my nipples were so sensitive and it hurt. Like, it severely hurt. I cannot explain the pain. It's like growing pains in your breast area times 100. About 6 months into HRT, I began to notice that I was getting growing pains in my hips. And a very low amount of trans women do experience, hip growth by fat transfer, but your hips can shift forward. Extremely rare, not common. And the earlier you begin HRT, the higher chance you have of that. And again, genes are different. My body just started to have growing pains in my hips. And as a result of that, my hips really hurt, like they ached, and I couldn't sit for long periods of time. It was bad. It was really bad. And it was definitely doable, but it was uncomfortable. 1 year into HRT, my breasts really started to show development. Sorry, I always do this when I talk about my breasts. I don't know why. My body hair was definitely starting to lighten and decrease in amount. My muscle mass started to go away. I still have a little bit of muscle definition, but it's not much. I'm more jiggly. Around that point, I lost my abs. Looking at my body prior to transitioning to now, it's subtle, but it's very different because I lived in this body my whole life, and seeing it, I'm like, holy shit, like, you were a brick, and now I'm all soft and squishy. Jump start to a year later, 1 year into HRT, not 1 year, wow, 2 years into HRT, I definitely feel a lot more confident. My face, oh wow, I'm so pasty. My face has definitely started to clear up. I have really bad acne. My breasts are pretty big. They're like an A cup, which is standard. My family doesn't have big breasts. I got a lot of development in my hips and butt area because my family is partially Hispanic and French, and everyone in my family has fat development that goes straight to the hips and ass, which is what happened to me. Let's talk about, the past 2 years. Whenever I see, other trans people talk about their medical transition, it's all happy, dandy, go lucky. And my transition has been bumpy, but good. But there's one thing that no one else has really talked about in their videos about this subject. But for me, I still feel like how I did at the beginning of my transition. And what I mean by that is I still feel like I'm in that ugly duckling phase, and I forget that I have that privilege of walking down the street and being seen and read as a woman and having that passing privilege, which I have a very difficult relationship with that concept. But I still feel like I don't pass, and that, I look like a big dude. And in reality, I don't. I think that my voice is all deep or too weird or gives me away, or that my face is too bricky and not soft and feminine. But in all actuality, it is. And it's a weird transition mentally to go from that phase of my life where I had to be scared all the time. And in reality, no. When I walk out the door, I'm seen and perceived as a woman. And it's good, it's great. It's just weird to go from people gawking at me, taking pictures of me, hiding their children from me, to now people complimenting me on the street. Women will always be like, work girl, you look good. Oh my God, I love your hair, I love your makeup, I love your clothes. Before, girls would glare at me. Guys would give me dirty looks, and now I get catcalled. So it's interesting to see my privilege kind of dwindle in a way, but also increase. Like it dwindles in the sense that I get catcalled all the time, relentlessly. But I pass, you know? So it's just a weird thing. I don't know if I'm making any sense. Um, yeah. So, yeah, I think that's about it. I feel a lot better, honestly. Like truly, my moods have started to be more regular. My, I don't know. I just feel a lot more at ease. Whereas when my body was rejecting the estrogen and increasing the testosterone levels, um, now my body is just like, okay, we're only producing estrogen, no more testosterone. So it's weird. It's weird in that sense that like I'm just at a better place. So yeah, that's about it that I have today. I hope you all like this video, and until next time, bye.